What's up, world? eCushion is here in the lab for lesson 2 of 12 free lessons for all ages in this first semester of 2024. Big shout out to my friends at NGO Radio Terra in Brazil. And this is a wonderful thing that we do. So meet us here on the YouTube channel every week. Today, we're going to be talking about traditional grip, matched grip, and some of the permutations of the traditional grip, like the Herlin Riley or Lenny White way with the one finger on top. So I wanted to just bring about some of the pieces of information that I've also done some research on over the years from other great drummers like Lenny White, Tony Williams, Neil Peart, Buddy Rich. It's going to be a really fun day. It's really important that, and what I've noticed from the best drummers that I've ever heard, is that all of them played from the back of their hand. So rule number 1 is don't play from the front of your hand. And I'm going to demonstrate the difference in the way that sounds. So I'm going to play a simple backbeat playing from the front of my hands, which is not engaging my pinky and my ring fingers, but just playing from the thumb and the middle finger and the pointer finger. Okay, now I'm gonna play it from the back side of my hand. All right, and I'm sure that you noticed a major difference in the impact of the sound. Not only does it allow you to hit more naturally harder, but it allows you to control those hits between being hard or soft if you're playing from the back of your hand, not the front of your hand. Let me come around here and show you up close. So playing from the front of the hand would be from here, right? Playing from the back of the hand is, so when you're playing from the back of the hand, you get all of the benefits of your wrist. You get to play the stroke with the whole hand, and that allows you to not rely on bounce. If we don't rely on the natural bounce back of the stick and we just stick it ourselves, then just like this, we'll have more control and our sound will be better, among other things. So, okay, that's from the front of the hand, from the back of the hand. And you'll be able to see it in the top of my grip right here. Front of the hand, back of the hand. Notice how when I play from the back of my hand, my pointer fingers are sticking off of the front of the stick. That's sort of important. These pointer fingers, they do come into play when you start to play a double stroke very fast. But when you start to play it at half that speed, you need to go back to the back of the hand. The slower the tempo or the slower the speed, the more you can afford to play straight from the back. The faster it gets, I can understand that you're going to have to choke up on the stick into these 3 fingers and use them more. So that's when you're playing with matched grip, which is these 2 sticks played with the same exact hand technique. Okay, this right here is German grip, and this right here is French grip. The French grip has the thumbs pointed upwards, and the German grip has the thumbs pointed at each other, and your hands sort of make a pizza slice. Different strokes for different folks. I really, really want to emphasize safety and good posture. You don't want to be reaching for things, especially not if you're doing it just because it looks cool. I understand sometimes our equipment isn't what we need it to be, and you have to reach for a tom-tom or reach for a cymbal. But never should you have to reach very far if you are setting your drum set the way that you feel comfortable. And never should you be holding your hands in a way that could hurt you. So just make sure that if you're feeling pain, you might want to adjust what you're doing because it's not supposed to hurt. Let's talk about traditional grip. Traditional grip is the oldest form of drum technique. I've seen old marching band pictures where both hands are played with this type of overhand technique. But as it started to modernize into the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, all the way through the 60s, it was the dominant way to play, to have, if you were a right-handed player, to have your left hand be in the traditional grip style, which is to have the stick going through the middle finger and resting on the ring finger. I like to choke up on the stick. I don't like to play back here as much as I possibly can because I don't have as much control. There's a lot more stick coming out of the front of the hand than I want. So I want to make sure that there's enough in the back to counterbalance all the stuff that I'm doing. This feels about good. This is way too much in the back. It'll become back heavy. And this is right in the middle. This is just about right. This feels pretty good. I have a technique where I go back and forth between the thumb and the pointer finger. It's sort of a molar technique. I'll get to that later, but that works best when you're sort of here in the a little bit back of the middle. So yeah, right about here. And so I use these two fingers as a trap door. When I don't need them, they'll drop out. So I can even not use anything but the thumb. So let's talk about John Riley, the great bebop and American jazz drummer who has a wealth of knowledge.
Same. However, when I played, certain phrases still felt better, more comfortable to me with traditional grip. Now, other phrases felt more comfortable to me with matched grip. But I had to make a kind of decision because I found myself paralyzed a little bit, having to decide which grip do I need for the thing I'm about to play.
And that was too much thinking for him, and I don't disagree. It's really important that you're not thinking so much while you're performing that you end up missing your cues or missing the sight reading or missing the band leader giving you a cue, a visual cue. So he decided to just keep it traditional grip, and if he needed to come into matched grip, he realized that 80% of playing matched grip came free when you learned how to play traditional grip. But people who only knew and came from the school of playing matched grip had a harder time playing traditional grip. So there's something to be said for learning traditional grip first and then realizing that you can just get most of matched grip when you need it. I suppose that's a controversial take. The great drummer Tony Williams also talked about that. He also talked about how certain rudiments just work better for certain grips. I find that the buzz roll is one of them. So the buzz roll for traditional grip is just so smooth. Just like that. I'm going to play the same thing with matched grip. I think that when you play traditional, you get a little bit more looseness because of how when you only have 2 fingers on top and the snare hits the head, the bottom fingers, these 2 fingers, which I call the trap door, they drop out, and then you get a lot more access to rebound and buzz. Okay? On matched grip, you can do that, but you have to be particular, and then you have to move up to the front of your hand. And like I said, moving up to the front of your hand isn't where the power is. So once you're done doing the idea that required you to move to the front of your hand, you're going to have to move to the back of your hand again for the main beat. With the traditional grip, like I said, you have these 2 fingers on top. I feel like it's easier to express myself with double stroke rolls, with traditional grip. But if I want to go ahead and make it even looser and make my touch even more delicate, then I'll drop out the middle finger under the stick and have my middle finger join the trap door fingers. So now it's just my thumb and the fulcrum of my hand holding the stick, and my pointer finger is really just there to sort of make sure the stick doesn't fly out of my hand that way. And you get a very, very bouncy and loose, buzzy sound. Right? Okay? Now, matched grip is really great, and I think that matched grip makes me think of rock, it makes me think of funk, it makes me think of music past 1970. To quote the John Riley man again, to quote John Riley, when Billy Cobham came on the scene, though, it was clear that Billy Cobham was a studied drummer. But Billy Cobham played matched grip, and so he destroyed the notion that people who played matched grip weren't studied and weren't as technically proficient on the instrument.
And Billy Cobham came on the scene, and he played this way, and he was obviously schooled. So I spent 5 or 6 months only practicing this way.
Check out some Billy Cobham. It's really important to note that anybody can be anything with any grip. But when Billy came out, he had everything. He had chops, creativity, control, and a great groove. And it's really important to find your voice on the instrument, which also has to do with finding how you hold the sticks. I want to say something about posture now, and I can't emphasize this enough. Being able to be as upright is the best. I understand that there was times in bebop when people were playing down here. Maybe it served the music at the time. Maybe it's because the drums were built a certain way. But I think a lot of it had to do with a look. It had to do with the way people wanted to make the music feel, and so they put their bodies that way. But as the music became more demanding, as the tempos became faster, and as the music became more modernized, and I mean with every type of music, not just bebop and not just swing and not just early Black American music, but as everything began to modernize, it was really important that you had more facility over your body. So when you set up your drum set, sit in the room on your chair, sit down, and have somebody put your bass drum where your foot would normally just sit. Put your snare where you would normally want to hit a snare between your legs. Have the hi-hat come where you are just naturally sitting in your chair. And then move all the drums around you to that natural sitting place. And once you get there, find what works, find out what's painless, find out what doesn't make you reach, and stay there. You'll have to make tweaks along the way. So far in my 30-year career, I've had to change my technique 3 or 4 times, which means sometimes learning all over again how to play the drums to a certain degree. Let's talk about Neil Peart. I'm going to come up front and talk to you a little bit. So Neil Peart who is one of the 21st century's most fond after rock drummers, one of the most influential rock drummers of the progressive rock and early fusion metal bands Rush. He played like a matched grip situation. He had a teacher help him approach the drum set. His entire career, at somewhere near the height of his popularity, he had somebody help him reapproach the drum set and start to play traditional grip. He said that originally it was because he thought he had more facility getting around the kit.
That in the fluidity of timekeeping and the fluidity of adding ghost notes and so on through the course of playing patterns to the cymbal or to the hi-hat, I was able to get a much nicer flow of rhythm and a much nicer pulse to the time sense by using traditional grip. So I stayed with it. I figured it was worth the experiment, and since I was going at this as being a process of reinventing myself and completely starting all over, it kind of added to the excitement of that.
Once you realize, though, that certain stickings in matched grip don't help you get around the kit as fast, you start to cherish this traditional grip. And again, you'll have to switch back and forth sometimes because the music demands it. But what's really cool is that Neil Peart, who is thought of as a rock drummer, and rock music is mostly associated with the matched grip, changed over to traditional and found that he had even more facility on the drum set. Buddy Rich talked about that too.
This is something I didn't want to do, but I'll do it for you. They have a simple thing that, number one, they hold the sticks wrong. This is called a match grip. Well, that's all right if you're playing timpani. When you play timpanis, this is obvious the way you play a timpani roll. Right? But you can't do the same thing up here on a snare drum. You can't really do anything. The correct way is the drum way, right? Where you can roll, where you can get around that way. Most kids today, they play.
But you can actually get even more with this. Obviously, music has changed, and great drummers like Black Dynamite and Sput and Lewis Cole, to name just a few, there are many out there who have come through with traditional and match grip styles that really work for modern funk, fusion, gospel, punk funk, and the like. So there's no right way to play the drums, but there is proper technique. And I suppose that having your back be straight, being able to take a breath from your feet all the way through your crown while you're sitting and playing is as important as being able to play a paradiddle or a really fast tempo, because in the heat of the moment on stage, you're going to run out of breath. You're going to become so tired that you need to find the strength. And that strength won't just come from having good hand technique. It's going to come from having a straight abdomen for you to be able to fill your diaphragm with air and really breathe. I also want to talk about having your elbows away from your body just enough so that you can allow your body to be a resonant cavity. I feel like my sound gets a little bit tighter and smaller when I play with my elbows touching my body. I don't allow for my body cavity to become its own resonating drum. And I learned that from my professor sensei, Ralph Peterson, rest in peace, that playing with your arms not clenched to your body will increase the sound of your movements. So versus okay, it's doing something to me that's making me shrink. It's doing something to my sound that does sound and feel tighter to me. So it's just a thought about how you hold your arms out and how much more of a big sound you can get when you don't constrict your abdomen. I want to touch a little bit on the feet, and we're not going to do it as in depth today as I would like to, but I will say that when you are playing swing or when you're playing blues or delicate tempos, there is a place for your flat-footed technique to work. So that's your heel down on the pedal. So you can feather, which is really just tapping your foot like you would while you're listening to your music in a casual setting, but with your foot on the bass drum pedal. So, you know, 1, 2, 3, what's that? Whatever the music is doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You know, just nice and light. My heel is on the foot plate of the bass drum pedal. My foot is flat, you know. And as I'm swinging, I'm allowing my bass drum to blend with my ride cymbal. You know, it's not... That's more like imitating like a 30s drummer. Or you could take it to a house vibe if you really put your heel up and emphasize it and then put 2 and 4 on the snare. You could go. But we're not doing that, right? So I want to talk about your foot being on the plate and you're feathering the bass drum right now. John Riley, who I quoted earlier, is somebody that feels like all he really needs is to practice with his heel down. And when he needs to put his heel up so that he can have the power and really kick it, he'll have the power. But he doesn't have to play as much heel up as he does heel down. So in order for him to put as much practice time into what he needs to do professionally, he's just going to do that. For me, I need to have my foot up a lot, so I practice mostly heel up, but it's important to be able to have enough power in your heel down or your flat-footed technique so that you don't run out of steam there. So this is without the feather. This is with the feather. Now this is me feathering with the heel up. Heel up, heel down. Heel up. And hopefully you can't tell the difference. My goal would be to make it seamless, but if you can tell the difference, then it's even better for the use of this exercise. Yeah, so let's just recap. There's traditional grip, which looks like this, okay? Which is one hand like the regular match style, and the other hand with the overhand technique. Then there's matched grip, and there's two kinds, okay? There's German matched, and then there's French matched, okay? You want to play from the back side of your hand. You want to choke up a little bit on the stick. Oh, a good way for you to practice the back side of your hand is to just sit around and hold the stick with your pinky and your ring finger with both of your pointer and your middle finger splayed out like this, and hold on to the stick and just kind of bat the stick like this. Play some air drums with just the two back fingers holding onto the stick, and you'll start to develop a really, really nice back of the hand technique. Okay, I'm going to come up and just show you a little bit closer. Okay, so in order to perfect this, you can just sit and watch TV on the couch by clutching the stick with these two bottom fingers and let everything else just point outwards. You don't have to be too stiff with these three fingers, okay? But you want them to be pointing outwards so that when you make this stroke, the stick is just coming out to the furthest extent that it can and then snapping back into this soft part of your fulcrum, okay? You're holding it with the back two fingers, and then you're just basically playing air drums. And you're going to strengthen this muscle here, and you're going to strengthen these fingers' grip. Okay, this is all you're doing in order to practice playing from the back of your hand. Okay, if you were to apply that to sitting behind the drum set, it would be like this. Now I'm going to keep it from the back of the hand, but I'm going to add these fingers. Right? Splayed out. These fingers are loose. Now I'm going to add the fingers. And voila, that's how it's supposed to look. Playing from the back of the hand, but having these fingers connected to the stick is the move. You can play from the front of the hand if you have to play faster, but for the most solid control, play from the back of your hand, okay? Anybody can tell a beginner drummer because most beginner drummers do not have this piece of knowledge. Boom, right here. Play from the back of your hand, not the front. All right? So, this has been eCussionist with NGO Radio Terra and free lessons for all levels every week. For me, it's Thursday at 3 o'clock on their YouTube channel. My name is eCussionist, signing off. Enjoy your week.